Good evening, everybody. We've all passed our fitness tests this week and we're able to bring you the first Monday night show of 2022 here on Boro Fan TV. I'm James Hutchinson. Welcome to the show. And tonight I'm joined by Damon LaRoche and David Campbell. Welcome again, lads.
Cheers, James. Thanks for having us.
Great to see you both again, boys, and great to see everybody out there as well. Hopefully you're going to enjoy the show tonight. We've got loads to get through, as you can imagine, on this first show of the year. We've got a full points return from our games over the festive period, which we're going to talk about. COVID running through the squad, calling off the Sheffield United game. Transfer activity and the magic of the FA Cup, although that's not for everyone, as people on Tyneside will testify to, but we might get on to them later on. We might drop them a little bit of a mention. As always, we'd love to hear from you on Boro Fan TV tonight, so get involved. It's your show. As always, we'd love to hear from you. And before we start the show, everyone at Boro Fan TV, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Boro legend Gary Parkinson. Hope you're having a great day party with the family. All the best from us all here at Boro Fan TV, pal. So, lads, taking you back quite a bit here now. The Forest game, David. Almost 30,000 were at the Riverside on Boxing Day, and it was great to see the place rocking, wasn't it?
It was. It was a good atmosphere. Obviously, just after Christmas as well, we were talking about it being a tough tie because they were hitting a bit of form. But yeah, it was a good turnout. We were inside the ground. It was a good atmosphere, and it was a good spectacle for the Boro fans as well. The fans who obviously came back home for the Christmas festive fixtures won't have been disappointed after that performance, especially the first half.
Yeah, no, spot on that. And Damon, I mean, it was great that the team backed up, having a great crowd in there at the Riverside with a good performance and a victory. And while it might have been a little bit fortunate, our first goal, now we took the lead on the day against Forest, there could be no denying the quality of that performance, especially the opening 45 minutes, can there?
Absolutely. I mean, we made it, just like the Bournemouth game, we made them look second best, really, to be honest. I mean, that own goal, when they put it in the own net, I would just laugh my head off because it was constant pressure, and that's what we've got to do in these games, like early on, and it gets the momentum going, and you could see from the crowd. Unfortunately, I couldn't go for financial reasons and for other reasons, medical reasons, but it was definitely a great atmosphere, and definitely made the 12th man made us better going forward. Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought Hernandez and Score linked up really well. When I seen the starting lineup and I saw Noel Watmore, I was a little bit intrigued to see how they performed. But I thought Hernandez as a false nine was really good.
Yeah. Thanks for all your wishes, everyone, for Happy New Year, and that goes out to all our followers here on Boro Fan TV. And you mentioned there, David, about Sporra, and I mean, he put the icing on the cake midway through the second half, and that goal at the time it came, it was a crucial goal because for all we played really well in the opening 45 minutes, Forest were just starting to get a bit of a foothold in the game, weren't they?
Yeah, the Xander Silva hit the post, and then the Mr. Free header. They had out the whole game, they had about a 10-minute spell where we were a little bit rocky, but we were expecting them to come out and put on a bit of a show second half. But apart from that, I thought we were quite resilient. Scorer just obviously from the week before where he scored a penalty against Bournemouth, 2 games in a row, it just showed his confidence, and obviously now he's followed that on with Blackpool as well. Yeah. So I think it was important for Scorer as well to carry on his goal scoring form. But most importantly, like you say, it came at a brilliant time. It killed the game really once that went in.
Yeah. Peter Grassham's mentioned there, Damon, that Forest game's the best we've played since the Karanka days. And I mean, we're going to sound a bit like a broken record here, Damon. And the one thing you could be a little bit critical of the Borough at the moment is our inability to put the chances away when they come along in games. And like David mentioned there, we're for a 10-minute spell a little bit wobbly against Forest. You're going to have that in matches. But are we being overcritical saying we're not making the most of the chances that we create in games?
No, I think you're spot on with that, James. I think and David as well, because we are creating chances. I mean, 15 and 20 chances per game we're creating. I mean, I've looked at the stats in each of the games, and it's horrendous how much time we have on the ball and how much we are creating. if we just add, like you say, a bit of quality to that, like the end product, we could go further up the table.
Yeah, Mikey Bourne's been in touch. Thanks for getting in touch, Mikey. And he said, hopefully the new guys such as Connolly and Balogun, when he arrives, will put to bed these chances. And
Yeah,
David, before we move off the Forest game, how much of a statement was that victory? Because bearing in mind, at the time they were above us in the table. I think they'd only lost one in 16 since Steve Cooper took over, and they were undefeated in 9. It was a big statement, that victory, wasn't it?
100%, yeah. And it was to show how far we've come under Wilder. I thought a team with momentum to see if we could stop the rot and compete against them. And we were, to be fair, under Wilder, I don't think we've been a second best in any of the games, even though obviously we got beat by Preston. I think we've been the better team in all the games. So I was intrigued to see how we performed against Forest, and we were brilliant.
Yeah.
First half, I thought our pressing was magnificent, and I've seen someone say about Kranker, the best we've seen. I'd echo that. I'd seen, we have an identity now, and I think that's the important thing to remember.
Yeah, good words there, wise words, pal.
We also, David, we would have lost them games under Warnock, wouldn't we? If he'd still been in charge, we wouldn't have picked up any points.
Yeah, he just trusts the system, doesn't he?
He's got a really good philosophy going, and I like the way we're moving forward. As you said, we've got a good identity at this football club now.
And Michael Pellin, a regular on the show's got in touch, David, and he's mentioned there, and I think it's a point a lot of Boro fans are making. Can you believe that these are the same players that Neil Warnock had? Can you sort of understand such a change in the squad in the past 6 weeks, how it's really changed, David, from, we said on the show at the time, about building the next season. Now people's hopes have been raised massively, and can you believe how quickly in the short space of time that's happened?
In some respects, no, but in some respects, yes, because everybody's playing for the future now. And it was when the appointment was made, we said, obviously, everybody was playing for the future because January was coming so close. So, I can understand why people lifted the form up to now. And now it's just to see if we can maintain it. That's what is going to push us on now. If we can continue with the same players playing the same way after January, I think that just shows a lot about the club. I can understand the players wanting to perform to January, because if they didn't, they'd have been out the door. And if he's not performing, they're not going to get a better move. They'd have had to drop down leagues or go to a club on lesser money. So I can understand why the players suddenly start performing. And how many times have we seen a club change manager, and you get the bounce back effect? And that's what we've done. And I just hope it continues. I was expecting it up until January. Now I'm just seeing if we can push on beyond.
Yeah. I'll bring you in on this in a minute, David, but I'll give it to Damon first. We're going to talk about transfer speculation later on the show, but as it's Forest, we will talk about Djed Spence. And obviously, his performance yesterday in the FA Cup against Arsenal, but Tom Lance has got in touch. Thanks for getting involved, Tom. And he's mentioned, what do you reckon about Spence after the Forest game yesterday? Should we keep him or sell him? What's your thoughts on that, Damon?
Well, I said last time, a few times I've been on the show, haven't I, James, that we've had a bit of a disagreement, me and you, over Djed Spence, saying you said it was being touted at 5 million that he should be gone. Now it's being touted at 10 million by some Premier League club that want him. Personally, if they're looking to pay 10 million, I'd sell him and invest it in other areas, because we've got Isaiah Jones, he's on fire. I'd definitely sell him and invest elsewhere, no doubt about it. Because Djed Spence is hit and miss for me. There's potential there, but when it comes to putting it on the pitch, he does it in dribs and drabs, So I'd like to say I'd sell him. I don't know what you guys think.
I think everybody that's watching the show said sell him. Sean Norris there, sell him to the highest bidder. Jamie Mesra, easy, sell him for 10 million. He's not worth any more than 6k. Well, his performance was a good one yesterday. But go on, David. I know we've often spoke about this in the past. Djed Spence is your favourite topic on this show, but What's your thoughts on where we stand with Djed Spence?
Well, when you're talking 10 million, someone's obviously forgot to put the decimal point between the 1 and the 0. But I think first and foremost, let's just get that straight. Yeah, he's playing well at Forest, and hopefully all it does is get his value increased. I think Wilder was really refreshing and hit the nail on the head. From what I've heard for a long while, Dan Djed Spence doesn't want to be here. And why should we upset the apple cart by bringing someone back into the fold like that? And I thought it was very refreshing that he made that point, saying, "I know I'm not throwing him under the bus, but if he came back here, he wouldn't be unhappy. He'd be unhappy, and I can't afford that in the dressing room." And I think that tells you a lot about his personality before Wilder came in. I think that's why he's been moved on. His performance was impressive against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But I would say anybody who watched yesterday's game and thought it was impressive, watch him against Huddersfield, and you'll see why we sent him out on loan, because he was appalling against Huddersfield at home.
And what I would add to that, David, as well, is if you cast your mind back when we played Tottenham in the FA Cup 2 years ago in the game at Riverside, he had a fantastic game here. That day, is there maybe something in his DNA that he turns it on in the big game, in the big occasion, but consistency is the key, and he doesn't have that week in, week out.
100%, James. And unfortunately, that's what gets you a Premier League move, doesn't it? Consistency. Yeah. You can't just bring it on. I see Ian Wright saying Boro must be the best stock defence in the Championship if they're allowing him to go on loan, but that's a blinkered view. If you'd seen what we've seen over the last 2.5 years under him, you can understand why he's being shipped out. Just 1 in 10 isn't good enough.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to the Djed Spence. We'll leave the last word to Peter Grasson, who said Spence is wanted at Forest by a manager who believes in him. So we'll leave it there. We've presented both sides there, but I think the case has been put by you two lads as to what you think the Borough should maybe do next. But all will become clear in future transfer windows and maybe over the summer. But Damon, we'll go on to the Blackpool game now. That was the second and final game of our festive fixtures, as it turned out. And a game that had been in doubt in the run-up to it. But on the night, it provided memories that those Borough fans that were there will never forget. And there was a couple of changes made. I remember Sol Bamba and Lee Peltier came in on the night. But in fairness, the first half, again, Borough bossed it, and they were the better team on the night there in the first 45, weren't they?
Absolutely. As I say, we start these games well. We start off it, and then we sort of get the killer goal at the end. That's just been the story of our game so far. But that was for memories for me. Listening to that and watching it on the TV was amazing. As soon as Watmore scored and the possession for a start, but when Watmore scored, I was going ape in the house. I nearly knocked my telly off my wall. I was literally bouncing. Bouncing. My dad was bouncing. You know, the whole house was shaking. So it was definitely great memories, and memories that will last forever, no doubt about it.
And David, I mean, the first goal on the night, again, Sporra, the Slovenian, comes up trumps again. I don't know if you saw, I think a lot of people saw on the day or two afterwards, there was clips on social media about him and Isaiah Jones trying that, and I think it was in the warm-up to either the Forest game or the Bournemouth game in the North Stand, exactly the same moves. Obviously, there you go. Practice makes perfect, and it certainly did on the night, didn't it?
It does. Repetitive, and it came off. And I've got to say, those two have got link-up play is starting to become very crucial for our attacks. Sporra, he took that with confidence. If you'd seen Sporra 6 weeks ago, he wouldn't have even gone for a position like that. But one goal just changes the mentality of a striker. And, you know, and Isaiah Jones is just getting assists left, right, and centre.
Yeah. Damon, you mentioned there about your feelings at the end of the game when we won, but only a matter of minutes before that. And we've seen it so many times in the past. Borough were hit by a sickening late blow. What were your feelings when Lavery equalised at the start of stoppage time?
Well, it was just a long hoof, wasn't it, upfield from, I think, one of their players, our goalkeeper, I think it was. And then I'm trying to cast my mind back because it feels like an age ago. But it was just like that when they're scored, oh no, not again. not again. We can't concede late, and that's our first goal we've conceded, I think, since November. November 20 something, I think it was.
Yeah, Huddersfield, yeah.
Yeah. So we did well, but as soon as we went up the other end and got that goal from Duncan Watmore, Tav was claiming it because he was running away as well. I think same time. But we don't give it to Tav. It was Duncan Watmore, and then the assist king, known as Aya Jones, we call him. Definitely made memories that will last forever, as I said.
It's a bit sweet because we'd have all took a draw beforehand, didn't we? I think we were saying how tough of a game it was going to be. Yeah. So it was just like even better feeling when we managed to nick it. It was sort of like a robbery.
Michael Pellin said there, if that game was 8 weeks ago, Blackpool would have got the winner and not us. And I think that's a fair point. And that's the other thing that I think came to mind at the end of the game, David. The scenes at the end of the match. And I think that illustrates what a special occasion it was in terms of winning the game. I know you don't win anything for winning at Blackpool over Christmas, but the sense of belief and togetherness amongst the squad, the coaching staff and the fans, that was all evident at the end of that game, wasn't it?
It was, and it just shows how Wilder's got everybody knitted together. And I've got to say the reception for JT he got as well, the players, it just showed what they thought of him in the dressing room. Yeah. And obviously now he's gone on to Tottenham, but it just shows that everybody's working together. We've seen signs like that under Warnock, didn't we, when he kept people on the pitch afterwards and got them in a huddle. But that night just felt a little bit more special, that we were all pulling in the right direction this time.
Yeah. Neil Cowan, I don't possibly know what you're going on about here, but he mentions making a lovely garden feature out of orange seeds. I can't possibly comment on that, Neil, and I don't know what you're referring to, but we better quickly move on from that, Neil, I think. How you've redecorated your garden with part of Bloomfield Road. And Steve Colby's then mentioned, Wilder's never say die attitude. You play to that final whistle. That's definitely evident at the minute that the team seem to be all pulling in the right direction, the same direction as David said. Unfortunately, lads, so we didn't get a chance to, or maybe fortunately in some people's opinion, get a chance to build on that after the game at Blackpool when we went on to Sheffield United. There was a sold-out away following, which were denied the opportunity to follow in the Borough at Bramall Lane following the COVID outbreak at the club. I'll come to you both on this one. What did you make of the EFL's handling of the situation before the game was finally postponed? Damon, I'll come to you first, mate.
I thought it was poorly handled, to be honest. I think it was disingenuous, really, because you look at Premier League clubs and you look at the way their games, and with the COVID situation, they get the games called off with a click of a finger, don't they? So I can't understand why they were saying to Middlesbrough that you must bring players back from loan, or it was touted to bring back players from the loan so you can field the team you have to play that game, or it's like you get a fine or something else. It was something I was reading about it, and which was a bit, like I said, a bit disingenuous really, and a bit sour grapes. But as I said, the EFL and the FA have never liked us, so we just get on with our business. So.
Yeah. What about yourself, David? What did you make of it all?
It was shambolic, wasn't it? And I think a lot of it was down to the fact that it was on Sky TV, and the EFL were looking at the revenue off Sky, and I think that's what all it was about. What intrigued me was the fact that all the other games are getting postponed, and now, if you look at it, there hasn't been any games in the EFL cancelled, including the FA Cup, since these new strict restriction remeasurements came in place. And I think if Borough have made a stance personally, I think they've actually gone against them and said, right, you're not just calling these games off for COVID, you've been doing it for injuries, blah, 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 and we presented the data, because a lot of the games are getting postponed now. And we've seen Liverpool against Arsenal, which was due on Sky the other day.
Yeah,
they had to go through a rigorous routine of just getting that game called off. So I think it's tightened up the restrictions now, and you're going to see less games cancelled. But before our game, you could just get it cancelled willy-nilly, and I think that it's been absolutely shambolic that the AFL haven't looked at it before then.
Yeah.
Also, Also, David, you've got fans coming from like all places, haven't you? And they're get called off like 2 minutes before the game, So it's really ridiculous.
I just think a lot of teams were taking the mickey out of the rules and changing it to suit them. They'd had a few injuries, like Newcastle up the road. They didn't have much COVID, but they had a lot of injuries, and next minute the game's getting postponed. But what I've got to say on the Sheffield United game, in hindsight, I'm glad the game got cancelled, because if we'd have struggled to get a team out and we got beat, those 3 points could have been vital further on in the season.
Yeah. David, do you think in a way, as well as you can say, it came at a good time? Because nothing about COVID's a good thing. But did it come at a decent time? Was in terms of recharging our batteries? But on the flip side, can you also understand why Sheffield United fans were a little bit frustrated? Because I think that was their 4th game in a row that they'd had called off. So can you understand why they were frustrated?
100%. You can see it from both parties, can't you? Personally, I thought it was hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it's felt perfect for us knowing that we, not an easy game, but we had the FA Cup to fall into, where we could continue to rest a few players if we need to. So it's fell at a perfect timing for us. Sheffield United, it's fell at a bad time, but you could look at it on the other side, that they're going to have a long stint of playing Tuesday, Saturday for numerous weeks. And if they get a bit of momentum going and win games back to back, it suddenly looks a different picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, we're going to go on to transfer activity now, lads, and I'll put the first one to you, Damon. And obviously, it's tied in with that Sheffield United game. At the time, we were struggling for players, and we were getting told we might have to call back loan players. One player that we did manage to bring in was Aaron Connolly, who, funnily enough, we brought him in, but he wasn't registered in time to play the game. I don't know how you worked that one out, but what do you make of his acquisition and him coming into the squad? Are you happy to see Aaron Connolly at the Borough?
I am, yeah. He brings something else. He can play as a number 10. He can play as a striker. I've seen him play on the wing as well for Brighton. But he's mainly a striker, really. But he's a good young 21-year-old Irish player. So I haven't seen much of him because he hasn't had much game time at Brighton. But the games that I have seen him play, he has put in good performances. So I'm happy he's come in, and he's, like I say, he's a young prospect, isn't he? So
don't know what you guys think. Obviously, it looks like Balogun's going to go ahead. I just think with Balogun, Watmore, Sperore, and Connolly, they're all very much alike. And Hutchy, I just hope he doesn't go, really, because for what he's worth and for what he's earning, he just offers us something completely different if we need to change the game.
Do you think it's a case of either Hutchy or Coburn, or that we have to move one of them on, whether it be on loan in terms of Coburn, or do you think we have to move Hutchy off because in terms of he needs to be playing, he needs game time, and he maybe says, I want to be more of a first team player rather than just a squad member who's getting intermittent action?
Yeah, you could be right. To be honest, I forgot about Coburn, so you call it 6 strikers there. But I think Coburn definitely needs to go, because at his development age, he can't sit around on the bench just coming on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He isn't going to learn and he isn't going to develop. He needs to go to Hartlepool or someone in League 2 and play against the tough leagues and make a career out of himself before he comes back. But for Hutchy, I think being brutally honest with Hutchy, he'd have known in the summer when he was signing he wasn't going to be the number one long term. I think he would have known that. And if he can perform like he did again, I know it was against Mansfield, but if he can perform like that for 20 minutes against any team in the Championship, he's definitely worth keeping for us. Definitely.
Yeah.
There was a little hint as well with Aaron Connolly when he signed. Did you notice the hat he was wearing? He had the number 8 on it, and he shot with number 8. So, and that's Hernandez's number. So I wonder if Hernandez is going back.
Well, he hasn't got a squad number, has he?
I don't know if he's got a squad number yet. I'm not too sure.
So I think I've seen somebody mention somewhere that your squad number and your training kit are different numbers. They don't have the same number. The actual squad number that you're playing in your playing shirt and your training kit, it's different. So maybe
But with
one or
regard,
two people reading a bit much into that. But it's a possibility that Hernandez could get moved on. But David Olsen's mentioned there that he believes, like you said there, David, that we should keep Hutchy. But
I'm not sure really.
yeah, and
With Uche.
Luke Bowie's
I'm not,
mentioned there as well. 100%, but Hutchy isn't a Wilder player, which might be the issue there. That obviously Warnock brought him in, David, but maybe Wilder doesn't fancy him and certainly doesn't fancy him as a starter.
But when you say about isn't a Wilder player, Luke saying that, that's good that he isn't a Wilder player at times because you need those different options, and Wilder needs to adapt it. And that's I go again from what the Sheffield United fans had said to me. They all like Wilder, but he didn't have a second option. And when you're seeing our signings now, they're all playing the same way. Now, if we need to change formation, you need different people who can offer different. Liverpool, when they spent 30 million on Andy Carroll, we didn't buy him knowing he was going to be the number one striker. They bought him because he was a different option.
Yeah, I can see what you are saying with Uche, but for me, looking at it, the guy's really slow. I mean, he can hold the ball up, but he's slow at running. He can't run to save his life, and we need a bit of pace up front.
You've got that in your strikers.
You what? Sorry, David.
You've got that in your strikers, and if that's not working, what do you do? Just bring Conley on, who's going to do the same thing as Watmore.
You have, but I personally, I'm not a lover of Uche. I wasn't an Uche signing for me, but that's just me. And as far as like Coburn goes, yes, I agree. He needs to go to a lower league club, maybe League One, League Two, something like that.
Well, one that definitely went under the radar, lads, and put this out to you, David, was Caelan Boyd-Munch. I don't think anyone had really heard of him before Friday, and yet on Saturday he scored us in the FA Cup. I mean, I think he is one for the future, but he's made a heck of a start, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, and even watching his interviews, he's coming across like he's absolutely loving it here. And we've got Scout George Friend putting in good words for us, and he's one for the future, and he's a left-sided centre midfielder. So it's options for Tavernier because we were worried a little bit from there. And he'll come. His contract was up in 6 months, so he'll come on next to nothing. And look at it, he's come off to a brilliant start. At the Borough. But yeah, none of us seen that deal coming, did we?
No. And David, I was just going to mention there, it was the Cup game on Saturday at Mansfield, and third round of the FA Cup. A game which had all the magic of the FA Cup, and in the opening 45 minutes, it certainly went Borough's way, didn't it?
It definitely did. It was a cracking game to listen to, and then I watched the highlights a bit later on. But Uche's goal was a screamer. The way he held the ball up, I'll give him credit for that, and then he turned and shot. Was a canny goal. But definitely that Caelan Boyd-Munch, he looks apart. But as I said, some of these other lads as well need game time, and we've got a lot of young prospects at this football club. And I had one thing that Williams Colo, the left back who got injured for us.
Yeah.
He apparently is going out on loan to Burton. Right. That's what I've heard tonight. So hopefully that's true, and he needs a bit of game time. It'll give him some experience.
Mm-hmm. Do we know if Noel Taylor signed yet?
No, that's a strange one, that, because it appeared about 2 or 3 weeks ago that it was all sorted. He was going to be at the end of the season. Then about a week or so later, it turned out that other clubs are still looking at him, like West Brom were mentioned and 2 or 3 others. And I don't think anything's actually been nailed down yet. Now, that's a bit of a concern, that, isn't it, David?
It is going into Saturday, especially with no bowler. You would automatically, obviously, if he's COVID-free, you would have automatically put Taylor there. But his contract has ended, hasn't it?
I'm not quite sure. Is it ended now, or is it after Saturday? I know it was the middle of the month, was it not? That
it was the 14th. I think it was the 7th of January, I think.
Oh well, then that's it then. So yeah. I mean, and you would expect the club would have made an announcement by now if it was all sorted, and hopefully it is, because I mean I know it's only been 3 or 4 games he's played, but he's made quite a contribution in those games, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he certainly has, especially the Bournemouth game. He was quality in the Bournemouth game. He put in a really good shift, and I like Neil Taylor, but we've been looking at other areas. We've been looking at other players as well. With in that position, David Santon's another one we've been looking at from Roma. I don't know if you guys have heard that.
I saw that, but I just think when you've got somebody who's already at the club, played games, knows the system, I think Santon's just a little bit.
I thought it was a nightmare at Newcastle, but
well, most things are a bit of a nightmare at Newcastle at the minute. But we'll talk about that as well later on. But bringing it back to the Mansfield game, David, in a way, was it to be expected that we'd tail off in the second half as we did, bearing in mind everything that had happened in the 10 days before that game?
Yeah, I think Wilder made a great point. He wanted to get out the blocks really quick, and you could see that with our performance, and the COVID took shape. And I've got to say, Mansfield were magnificent. You know, they were, even when we were 2-0 up in the first half, people were saying we were bossing the first half. They had a lot of good chances in the first half as well. And it was a brilliant cup tie for the neutral. As a Boro fan, you're thinking, oh, here we go. What we definitely didn't want is it to go to extra time, though, when you already had tired legs.
Yeah.
And especially after, like we say, the COVID, I'd have rather have got beat rather than go to the extra time, because you just don't want to go through an extra 30 minutes after the week we've just had.
Well, I was going to say, Damon, I think most Boro fans feel the worst when it went 2-2. I think most Boro fans were thinking that you can only see one winner here with everything, how the second half had progressed. And as David said, the fitness issues after the COVID outbreak and things like that. But again, all credit to Chris Wilder and those players at the minute. They've showed the character and the resilience that they went on and got the winner in injury time. I mean, it's a great quality they've got at the minute, isn't it?
It is, and it shows that winning mentality, never say die attitude. Really, you put in the shift and you get rewarded at the end of the day. I just want to ask though, is that Mansfield player, Reece Oates, was he a former Hartlepool player?
Yeah.
He's a good player. I like him. He was a decent little player. He got their second goal, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's a good little player.
I mean, we've said before, lads, and I'll bring you both in on this, about that the league is the priority, but it's always nice to have an FA Cup run. And I don't know about you, lads, I think that's been one of the best FA Cup weekends for a number of reasons. One of the best third round weekends I can remember for a lot of years. I don't know how you lads feel. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I agree. And what was refreshing to see is when you see Man City away at Swindon on Friday night, field starting 11. You know, we all talk about the importance of the cup, and a lot of managers, especially with COVID times, are doing a rotation. There was no team who did rotation, so when they talk about the cup's not as what it was, I think a lot of managers put bed to that talk because everybody was playing a first team. And I've got to say, for Hartlepool as well, what a result it was against Blackpool.
Yeah. It was. I echo that, David. And Damon, we've obviously mentioned it in little bits and pieces so far, but obviously the circus up the road, up on side, Newcastle United. I mean, what did you make of what happened there on Saturday?
It was a joke, wasn't it? Middlesbrough. I think he was Middlesbrough born. This Joe Ironside, isn't he? I think he's
an Ironside son who used to be goalkeeper for the Borough in the early 90s.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I just like started laughing. So, how can you get beat to Cambridge? God knows what the owners are thinking at Newcastle United, but for me, there needs investment. They were talking about, as we said before we went on air, James, about Mbappe, Haaland, and co. Now they're looking at Solanke and other people. They've got come down a bit of a peg or two, haven't they?
Yeah. I think, in fairness to Newcastle, David, probably their priority is just the league this year, and it's got to be, hasn't it?
I think they'll get relegated. It's a dangerous game that they're playing at the moment.
No, Patrick Wheatley certainly thinks they're in trouble. But yourself, David, I mean, we've now found out we've got Manchester United or Aston Villa tonight, the winner of that, away from home in the next round. Any preference for you, David, where we go to?
for me, I think it's got to be for the theatre of dreams for the fans. We all know we're not here to win it. We're just here to enjoy the ride. So I think we've got to get the fans, and I think a Premier League outing against Manchester United is just would top it up, and it would be a good spectacle for us to see where we're at. I know Villa, it would be a good, but I think the atmosphere, it'd be interesting to see the likes of Jones and Dykesteel, how their performance was reacting a capacity of 60,000.
Yeah. And Damon, I mean, he's got in touch with us and said he thinks Villa will win tonight. What about yourself? Are you wanting Villa to win, or would you rather get United? Who do you fancy after tonight?
I'm neutral, really. I'm not bothered. We shouldn't fear no one, to be honest. The way we've been playing at the moment, I think we can take anyone on. Really, why not? Why not? It's the cup. What have you got to lose? Do you know what I mean?
Fair point.
You've got a bit, and you get a bit of financial package as well. So you get a good turnout, a good away following, like we did at Blackpool. So
all stuff to look forward to, boys, at the start of next month anyway. Trip to either Old Trafford or Villa Park, something to look forward to and put in your diary, Boro fans. But at the weekend, it's back to league action in the Championship. And Damon, it's Reading that are coming to the Riverside. And they've had a bit of a weekend to forget in the FA Cup as well, getting beat off Kidderminster Harriers. But that could make them really dangerous opponents, couldn't it?
Yeah,
it could.
Bounce back.
It could. It's very tough. It's very tough. Every game's tough in the Championship, especially teams that are fighting to stay up. And Reading are just on that cusp of the relegation zone. So hopefully we put in another good performance. COVID-wise, I'm not sure what the squad's going to look like in the starting lineup, but we can only surmise and assume where these players will be fit. But hopefully we'll get the result that we need and keep climbing up the table.
Yeah, and as Damon's mentioned there, David, it's the Championship. Anything can happen. I mean, we lost down in Berkshire earlier in the season 1-0 when Joe Lumley nearly equalised with the final effort of the game where he put it just wide with his header. I just missed. But we've got to avenge that, and we really need to keep the momentum going and get another 3 points on Saturday, don't we?
Yeah, and I think to get us back, I know obviously we beat Mansfield, but just to keep that positivity within the club, it's essential we get another 3 points and just start building on that. And what's been a really bad 2 weeks for the football club in terms of COVID.
So, boys, predictions for Reading on Saturday at the Riverside. Coming to you first, Damon. Are we going to go undefeated yet again and get another victory in the Championship?
We're going to win, but we don't score no more than 2 goals, so I'm going 2-0 win.
2-0 to the Boro. How about yourself, David?
Yeah, I echo Damon. I reckon 2-0 on Saturday.
2-0. There's loads of confidence even the Boro fans. Dan Shaw's got 3-0 Boro. Steve Golby, the Poli's gone 3-0 Boro. Steve Davis, 2-0 Boro. So there's lots of positivity around, and I don't see why I should disappoint things and be a stick in the mud. I'm going to go 2-1 Boro win. We're going to go for 3 points for the Boro. So hopefully that's going to be a full house, and we're all here next week celebrating another Boro victory against Reading in the Championship. But unfortunately, Boro fans, that's all we've got time for on this week's show, our first Monday night show 2022. My thanks go to David and Damon for joining me, and as always, to all of you out there for your comments and getting involved in the show. We're always on the lookout for more people to join us here on Boro Fans TV and take part in any of the shows. So if you'd like to take part in any future programmes on a Monday night, just drop us a line, get in touch with us, and we'll see if we can accommodate you. Also, if you can just take a look at our Twitter page, has been updated. It's in the hands of the trusty hands of Jake Waters there, who's putting out a lot of good content on Twitter. So check that out if you can. As I say, we'll be back next Monday night to look back at the Reading game and preview the Blackburn game. It's the following week. That's on the Monday night as well. And we're also going to take a look at the latest transfers going in and out of the club. But until then, from us all here at Boro Fan TV, have a good week, stay safe, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, mate.
Actually, that went a heck of a lot quicker than I thought it was going to.